Joining me is the Shadow Minister for Indigenous Australians and NT Liberal Senator Jacinta Price, who's from Alice Springs as well. Can I just start with your reaction to the scenes you've seen out of your hometown?
It's really emotional, actually. It's deeply it's saddening. It's saddening, I know, for me, and community members of all different backgrounds are reeling at the moment because of the absolute destruction and the mayhem that's been taking place on our streets, and nobody feels safe. And it should have never escalated to this situation, but there are those of us who've been calling out for so long to address why this is happening, and this is where we're at now.
Before we get to some of the reasons for what sparked this latest crisis, I just want you to, if you can elaborate, what needs to happen now, do you think? You spoke about the Riot Squad. I spoke to the Northern Territory Police. They said they don't have one. They don't have one equipped. Should we have something sent in from the Federal Police? What needs to happen? Yeah,
look, at this stage, we require support. So if it's going to come from interstate, then it needs to come from interstate. Obviously, we don't have the resources. Our police are under the pump. We've known this for so long. We're Australians, though. These are Australian citizens. Our streets need to be made safe. So where they come from within Australia, I don't care. They need to be placed there. And the violence needs to be brought right down. There needs to be consequences for it. But the people of Alice Springs need to feel safe once more.
Yeah, it looked terrifying. The images. So whether it be from interstate, federal police, even the ADF, is that something? We've seen it before.
Yeah, look, that's what they're there for, right? For humanitarian requirements. I think this is a humanitarian situation we have on the ground in Alice Springs. So I think an ADF presence, if that's what's necessary, then that's what should happen, and the territory government need to make that call.
Are they delusional? The territory government?
I would have to say that, yeah, they'd have to be delusional if they think, it was only a couple of days ago that I spoke about the 16-year-old getting bashed and having her clothes ripped from her, and the Chief Minister at that stage saying, oh no, crime isn't that bad. And it's within, 24 hours just about since making those comments that we've seen this escalate. I know as a Warrpy woman, when there are deaths, that there is cultural payback, that there is an acceptance of violence traditionally as part of our culture. I know this, and I've been saying this for years. This is what is playing out on our streets now. There's some who still want to deny it and say, oh, no, this isn't cultural. No, this is. And if I can't say that as a Warrpy woman so that my people can understand it's not acceptable, we shouldn't be accepting this, to change what's fundamentally ingrained within us in order to improve our lives, to reduce violence for our most marginalised, then what the hell are we living in Australia in a democracy in 2024 for?
So that's what sparked this. It's a traditional payback.
So there is a combination of that taking place because of the recent deaths in our community, the young people that have died.
There was a crash a few weeks ago that has prompted this wave. Is that right?
There's been a hit and run in our community. There has been the crash and a death of a young bloke. So we've got a combination of, when any premature death or illness in traditional culture is thought to be caused through sorcery. If that's that way of thinking, and someone else is to be brought to justice for this, then this is the outcome of that, coupled with access to social media. I know that fights take place on social media over incidents, and it escalates from there.
And you've seen it before. This is obviously not a first. It's happened many times. So why does the request for additional law and order support to keep people safe, as you said, Australians like those that live in Canberra or anywhere else have every right to feel safe when they go home. But that's not the case right now. It's anything but, isn't it?
It is anything but. And unfortunately, this is normalised behaviour out on communities. And while in the past it's probably been brought to heel, it's now taking place in our major centres. And our communities have watched it slowly grow, slowly escalate, slowly creep into our towns. It would not be acceptable on the streets of Sydney, Melbourne, anywhere else, Canberra. It should not be acceptable on the streets of Alice Springs or any remote community.
I know you've got a busy day in the Senate. I do want to finish on a very bright note, though, because you and I were at this function this morning for the National Indigenous Education Foundation. 15 years, 1,200 students, current and alumni. Really incredible young Australians doing some wonderful things across all sorts of fields. And it's a government and private partnership that's helped these young people get a great education.
Yeah, look, in contrast to what's been going on out in my hometown, that event this morning was a pure example of what it means when everyone gets together, when families are on board with education, when education is the priority, not ideology, and the young people themselves spoke for themselves in saying that they want to be seen as individuals in their own right, equal as Australians. You know, one young fella said, yeah, we've got to recognise our history, the bad, the good, the bad, everything in between, but that we all belong to this country. I was just, again, heartened to see that. It brought such hope, but that's an example of what we've all got to get behind as Australians to support Indigenous kids in this country.
Yeah, and it's closing. That initiative has 90% Year 12 completion, 90% retention. To me, it seems a no-brainer for government and others just to get behind and try and give as many opportunities as possible, I guess. Let's hope so, eh?
Absolutely.
Senator Jacinta Price, thanks as always. Appreciate it.